Hello, it's Abby here. Today I'm just going to be free flowing again. It's something that I enjoy doing because it means I can sort of cover a few more things. I think in the last few months and weeks and days, I've always saying the world we are living in is sick. It's sickening. Some of the things you hear from the murder of children, from the explosion of the Epstein files, and how the Epstein class were not willing to be accountable and just went about, oh yeah, I met with him, and so what, yeah, it happened, and then let's move on, like nothing happened, like there are no victims, like there are no people who really want answers and want to see justice, because that's the sort of world we live in. We know if someone is a perpetrator of anything, they have to face justice. It can be a nation. Nations have been punished, either pay reparations or something, but we know that whatever you do that is bad, you have to be accountable to that. But apparently there's a group of people who are not who are untouchable, really, as we saw with the Epstein file, that there are thousands of victims, but no one other than Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein himself, and Andrew Mountbatten, who lost his princeship or status as a prince and all that. But other than that, all the others, they're just going on about their lives like, these women don't count, and there's no need to be held to account, for their actions. So that's what this last year, 2025 and 26 showed me, that there are people who can just go on about lying and lying and lying, and people still believe them, and people still worship them, and people still go on as if the lies are just push them aside, and we keep going. And unfortunately, it's very much like also hypocritical, because it's like certain people can get away with lies, certain people can get away with crimes, certain people can get away with all sorts, and when it's done by others, black and brown, or yes, black and brown, yeah, then it becomes really a big issue. And I'm not saying here we should sort of say, or if someone is from the brown and black community commits a crime, they should also get away with it. For me, crime has no color. Just like all the things, the bad things that people talk about and always try to blame on immigrants or even people seeking refugee. People always try to blacken them, especially here in the UK. They so much elevate any crime committed by an illegal immigrant or somebody or someone from that community, the black and brown community, and they elevate it so much as if there are no white people who commit crime. The same in America. Most of the shootings in America, especially in schools, and they're done by white people, but they talk as if it's the black people who are always the ones who are criminals, as if they are even born criminal. And I also read something from RFK Jr. Kennedy, just talking about how black people need to be sent to a place where they have to be rehomed, and because they are violent, and also most on sort of on psychotic medication, so antipsychotic medication. So the thing is, it's always, there has to always be a way of making sure that black and brown people are made to feel like they are sort of at the center of everything bad or everything evil. So the same we see it even with religion, because my understanding and my acceptance of the Bible is, it's not for me to go on attacking my neighbor who is from a different religion. If I go and attack my neighbor who maybe does not go to church at all, does not believe in God, and I go and attack them and say, you must be a Christian, then again, that's not how God does it. That's not what God expects, because it is God who touches people's hearts. There are people I've heard saying, God came to me the first time I walked away. I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. And then the second time God comes. And the Bible says God knocks on people's doors, and that's their heart. So people get touched in their own time, and then it happens. So if you go and attack someone because they are not a believer of your religion, you go and attack them, or you insult them, or you do all these other things because you're trying to show that your religion is the one God considers to be religion, then again, Jesus, if you're a follower of the Bible that I know of, that I've read, Jesus said, be the light. If you are the light, then the people of the world will know that the Father you represent brings love, joy, peace, and that light, people get attracted to that light. But you do not attract anyone. Darkness does not attract anyone. And if you do bad things in the name of God, then that's not the God, or the God, the creator, God the Father, God the creator of heaven and earth, because that's not how he does his things. You do not attack people to make them believe in God. That's not how it works. Otherwise, Jesus would have, when he was on earth, he would have attacked everyone who was not a believer. He went on, and those who wanted to follow, they followed. There were people who turned away, and they sent them out to do miracles, and some they just walked away. And so it is just that. So if people go on attacking, insulting, and demonizing, and really going on for attacking people, calling names, bad names, that's not the God, the word, the work of the Father. Those individuals are full of hate, because at the end of the day, God created everyone. It's not like, he created these ones with special, like, facial or physical abilities. We all look the same, other than the skin color, eye color, and all the other sort of features. But at the same time, we are all in that image that has got hands, eyes, nose, and all that. So there's just no doubt that we will all have the same. So we are from this same prototype, if you are using worldly words, and then differentiated by the others as features, So to attack, to diminish, to label, at the moment Muslims are being so much under attack, and also, just associate anything that is not your religion with evil deeds. That's just not how it works. You do not convert people, you do not lead people to Christ that way, because people always resist. And also, it's not the job of men, not like men as in a man, but men as in men made by God, to force people to believe God. That's doing God's job. It's God who touches his own people at his own time. So, having said that, I've seen so much hate, and I've seen it from people who claim to be Christians, from people who claim to be the chosen ones, from people who claim to be a nation that was built on Christianity. So I just started to think, what does that even mean? Because we are talking about people who build their nation using slave labor and did not treat these slaves as human beings, and did all sorts of things. Some of them even, I can't even say some of them, evil stuff. the rape of women, the beatings, the killings, those things that were done by people who were claiming that they were reading the Bible, and the Bible was telling them that yes, it's okay to have slaves, but they were still doing these bad things. As men of God, as women of God, as Christians who were reading the Bible, on Sundays or whenever, they were still reading the Bible, and then going on and maybe raping black women, their slaves, beating them up, not giving them food, and all the bad things that was happening at the time. So again, I kind of not sure, because to generalize, to say America is a Christian nation and everyone there ought to be Christian, or by default everyone is Christian, and that's not true. I think in every country on earth, that God created, there are Christians people, even in China, even in the countries that are referred to as Islamic countries, there are Christian people. Because God never said if a country is like this, even in African nations where they believe in a sort of traditional spiritualism, there are Christian people. So there are Christian people in every part of the world. So this thing that we are our Christian values, but meanwhile we are doing things that are far from the signs of the values of Christians as we know it. But just yapping about being Christians, just yapping, even making people hate the word of God. Because then I've seen people, non-believers, commenting like, oh, okay, if Peter has exit, or if whatever is a Christian, how come they do A, B, C, D? What sort of Jesus do they? It's like, you do not have to claim to be Christians. I know Christians who are very quiet. They do their good deeds. They don't preach it out. They don't shout from the rooftops, but they do evil deeds that people who are non-Christians are like, I wish to be like that person. I've heard people say that, I wish to be like that person, because they are seeing all the charitable, all the fruits of the Spirit. They are seeing love, they are seeing peace, they are seeing joy, they are seeing all the nice good things. So people are like, I really wish to be like this person. But the person does not even scream or shout that I'm a Christian, or get on and always kind of quote the Bible like it's a justification of doing bad things. It is shocking to me, and it is, I think I could say, I would agree with people who say these are like more or less like the end times, where anyone claims to be a follower of Jesus. Some even for claiming to be Jesus. But meanwhile, they are like in deep of wickedness and sin. And some of it intentional, because you cannot tell me that causing people to starve to death, or taking away medication from people who could be ill. And I always come back to, I take medication from time to time because I've got chronic illness. There are times when I'm in so much pain, I need to get medication. And if I don't have that medication, it means I'm really going to be in pain. So I can imagine people who do not only just have chronic illness, but who are actually on medication that sustains their lives. And then that medication is taken away, or there is a deliberate stopping of medications getting there. That's intentional murder, because deep down what's going to happen. It's like I said before, I remember hearing stories when there was war in my country, war of independence in the then Southern Rhodesia, that the Rhodesian forces were going in and sort of infecting water that people were going to fetch to cook and drink. They were infecting it with anthrax powder. You see, that was like intention, because that this person, okay, they're going to drink this water. After that, they are going to get anthrax. But because the system is in our hands, they are not going to find medication anywhere, or they're not going to find any help, and they will die, and they will die a painful death. And the mere fact that you do that, the mere fact that someone does that and puts poison in water that's going to be used by people, you know exactly what you're trying to do. So there's no doubt that it's just really hate and wickedness. So if people are starving, children are starving, are sort of making sure medication does not reach people, if people are destroying those sources of support, supporting life, supporting, it's all things that you do because you are full of hate. Because I wouldn't go to sleep. Just this week, today is Monday the 27th. Just this last week, or over the weekend, there was a journalist, a Lebanese journalist, two women. They saw there were bombs in one of the towns or cities in Lebanon. They went on and hide, and then the Israeli army dropped a bomb there, and the ambulance tried to go and help, but they kept on attacking so that there's no help for these two women, until one of them bled to death. One survived, but one bled to death, and they died slowly because they could not get any medication or any medical help. So if it was a normal war where you care about civilians and journalists, even the enemy could just jump in and get people so that people's lives are saved. You wouldn't say, well, they are journalists from there, because I think the rules of engagement for war is not to just let someone perish because they are your enemy. Especially, in this case, they were journalists. So, and I don't think you'd be saying you're fighting. You're fighting who exactly? Journalists. And then there was children who were shot when they were like by the fence where there's in Gaza, in the sort of where it separates the Israeli the occupied side of the occupied, and the students, they were there, and the three were shot dead. So there's no doubt that to go to that level of seeing little girls and boys and then shoot them, there's no doubt that person is doing it from hate. Really, because you can't say, oh, if I didn't fire at them, they were going to attack me. I don't see how that would have happened, because this way, like school children. I saw the picture. There were school children. They were not, I think, maybe would say 9, 10, maybe 13 would be the sort of the 12, 13 would be maybe the oldest. So this, what were they going to do to grown-up soldiers? Yes, maybe they would have screamed, they could have said something, but isn't that what people say when they are, when they are frustrated? When you put people in a corner, when you corner even an animal or anything, they scream, they make noise. So yes, they could have shouted, out of frustration, but at best they had their school bags and books and maybe empty lunch boxes, whatever. So to see this happening again, it's just showing the increase in hate from really the last 3 or so years, and it's happening everywhere. It's happening in the Middle East, as I've been saying. It's happening in war zones. It's happening in Sudan. It's happening in Myanmar. It's happening in Ukraine. It's happening around us, and unfortunately at the moment it seems like there is no voice of reason, for those people who used to actually be actively watching what's happening, where there is authoritarian, where civil rights are being destroyed and people are unjustly treated. They used to be, you would sort of say America or the United Kingdom, less so maybe the other countries, because when I was growing up in Africa, we used to sort of, so the United Kingdom and maybe the US and maybe the Western world, who sought out this issue and things will go back to normal somehow. But now it's just like they have gone silent, and with US, it's itself is becoming the perpetrator or the aggressor, the perpetrator of violence on or thereof support of it or enabling. Because if you support a country that is set on attacking civilians, always use, or we thought it was Hamas, or try to make a connection. You kill a civilian, then you try to make a connection. Oh, the paper they work for belongs to so and so. Come on, it's a civilian. It is a journalist. You may link them with God knows what, but it is a journalist who is just gathering, a woman gathering information for the newspaper and reporting what's going on. So if you support a country like that, and you are not yourself doing it directly, but you support them, you provide them with military, you're still an enabler. You're still an enabler, so you're part of it. I always say, if you watch someone being raped or being murdered or being bullied or whatever, and you do not do anything, you do not call the police, you do not tell the police, okay, maybe in terms of, murder or someone, you might not want to endanger yourself, but you would do something. If you don't do anything and you just try to let that person get away with it, it means you are enabling this maybe to be done to another person, to another individual, to another person. So, and we have seen it in patterns of sexual harassment, whatever, sexual violence. Someone does not get caught, and then they go on to do it to so many other women. So so if you see a country that supports a country that is set on destroying lives without feeling guilty, always pointing to, oh, we are protecting ourselves, you can say that. I've heard people, men who abuse their wives, like beat up their wife, big men, 6'3" or whatever, heavy men beating up their wives. When someone or the police asks, they say, I was defending myself. They will not say, oh, she had a gun, no, that was defending myself. They tried to, they slapped me, so I had to fight back. Really? And this person, you see the woman with swollen face, with swollen eye, the men would have no scratch, or maybe if they have a scratch, maybe it would be like a nail scratch, maybe where the woman was trying to defend themselves. But they will say, well, this is exactly what happened. You cannot let a country do things that are against human rights. You can watch and pretend you are not seeing it. Yeah, and I'm saying this also to the EU, to the UK, and even the US itself. And I think most influencers now, they just saying it, that in the like US influencers, they are saying it because sometimes people get so protected that they, and I think I said it before about people watching the same news channel, traditional, where certain narratives are protected or certain things are not supposed to be said. So you get a restricted narrative, you don't do your own research, so you don't see how destructive the administration is, or how destructive the regime is, or how destructive the sort of how destructive your country is in terms of supporting or not doing anything. Because if you don't call it out, then you are also part of it. Because honestly, it's like being it's like being involved in a way. Because if you are calling it out, if you are not calling it out, then what? And I said before, well, the German people said they didn't know what was happening, but and even when people went on to the 1936 election, Olympics, they were like, oh, we didn't know. But now we know, we see it, we've seen it. And sometimes it just needs people to do their research, to just go back instead of jumping on narratives that mostly from some of the influencers, because people are paid money. When people are paid money, they can say anything. So instead of maybe following 5 influencers without then checking what they are saying, because people can say anything online. And I was laughing because I didn't want to come online for any reason. Just because sometimes my talking just goes away because of my condition. So I thought, well, what if it happens when I'm in the middle of maybe doing my talking? But it's just the lies I've seen over the last few months. Lies, just people. Now anyone is becoming an expert as long as they get their clicks and followers. Anyone can become. I've seen so much people writing about racism, about what's happening in Israel and the Middle East and Iran. But also I've seen different views of it, not maybe the truth, but some of it you can just tell that it's been engineered, it's been changed to take a certain, or to bring a certain narrative. So you can tell that in the background people get paid, they are told what to say, and they ignore the truth. And I think for me, the most thing I do not like is people who lie blatantly. They know they're lying, and they are lying, but they are so convinced because of the money that they've received. They have to make it work. They have to make it sound good and also believable. So if you are not a critical thinker, then because they are so convincing, they are, made up and, very active and engaging, you think that they are saying what they are saying is the truth. But honestly, people can be paid, and that's how some of the hate has been passed down or is being circulated, is because, people are receiving money to say that. And they become so vicious if you question them, or if someone tries to sort of hang on a minute, but that's not, then they become so vicious. And some even then say you hate this group of people. And even if you are not talking about people or a race, because I don't think, if someone is a thief, if a black person, if I see someone who is black and I see them pickpocketing and they run away and they get caught, I wouldn't say, well, you caught them while they were stealing, so you hate black people. But that's what's happening, because if people now say, oh, how come you are allowing the soldiers to go into Gaza and do this, or how come you allow, or how come soldiers are going into the West Bank occupied, and then taking people's land and destroying people? They find these houses and taking over. If you say, how come this is happening? Why is it happening? Why is it not making news? Why is it not being discussed? Why is it not being stopped? Because you are attacking people and taking their land, taking their, like some of the videos you see, people are actually chucked out of the house. So you ask, or they say if you go, we will attack you, or they start destroying. I saw someone who was destroying people's the kitchen, the sitting room, everything was just being knocked down. So if you question these things, unfortunately, especially for some of these people who are being paid, they become so vicious. They say, oh, you don't want to see country so and so existing, or you hate this group of people. But it's not hate, and it shouldn't be read like that, because it is what it is. They are attacking. They are taking what does not belong to them. They are okay. I'm going to come to the raping of men using dogs, or training dogs to rape prisoners. I'm coming to that. But these questions, they are not. There's no doubt that these are bad things to do to another human being. So if they are questioned, it's not a matter of, oh, you are hating this race, you are a race, you don't like this race. No, it's the attack is not on a race. It's just saying this thing, this using dogs, using bottles, using whatever to rape prisoners or to rape women. It is wicked. It is bad. It's just sort of, how do you even think about that thing? So to me, it's not about hating a race. It's about hating the crime. It's like when people are talking in the religious sake, or people say you do not hate the person, you hate the sin, because the person is possessed by a spirit, so you hate the sin of the person. So the same applies with these things. If we say starving children is bad, killing children is bad, raping children, like with the Epstein files, is bad, you're not picking up on any race or hating any race. You are saying a bad thing, because we know as human beings there are things that we know in societies that to be wrong. Sleeping with 10-year-olds or 9-year-olds, especially in the I don't know, maybe it used to happen, but in the 20th 21st century, this is morally wrong, because they are babies. So is killing children, it's morally wrong. Starving children is morally wrong. So questioning that or commenting on that should not be seen as attacking a race, because doing something that is morally wrong has got nothing to do with race. I gave an example of saying a black person, let's say, has been caught stealing, and then they get caught, they say, oh, you hate black people, so you're racist. That's just not how it works. People will always attack a crime. People will always attack the bad thing they see. It doesn't matter who is doing it. It does not matter. And being evil and being wicked and doing bad things has got nothing to do with race. People from all races on planet Earth, even the Bible tells us that we are all born evil. We are inherently evil. All of us are capable of doing bad things. But we don't have to go through with it. The Bible, if people are Bible believers, it says the heart is deceptive. That's why we are told as Christians not to listen to our heart, because it will tell you to do something that is bad. So if I say so and so is bad because they are killing children, it shouldn't be, oh, you hate us, so you don't want us to exist. The conversation should not be escalating to there, because it's about the morals that we have set, or the things that we have set as being morally wrong and morally right. And I do not think people are attacking a people or a race. I think people are attacking the things that they see a people or a person, a government doing. Not generalizing, not race, not the group of people. No. And it shouldn't be like that. And I think we are all allowed to call out evil. We are all allowed to call out bad stuff. We are all allowed to call out what we see or what society has set as bad. We are all allowed to call it out at any point when we see it happening. We shouldn't be scared of saying that man is a murderer if they actually are murdering or if they have murdered. We should not be scared because they come from country A or country B. If someone is from country A and they are a murderer, yes, then they are a murderer. We are not saying the whole race is the whole race is full of, or the whole race is full of murderers. We are saying that person or the government of that person is murdering people, not the race. So I'm just saying this because, again, as I said, we no one would. I don't want to say hate, because it's more like calling out something bad. So moving on, I talked about an article that I saw on Al Jazeera, because they've got journalists on the ground. Some of them, they've been dying or they've been murdered over the years, in sort of, obviously, in Gaza and Lebanon and Iran. And they said a man was raped. The IDF used a dog to rape a man, and apparently they are training more dogs to do that. So I don't know what part of evil makes a person think, even to think about that, to say, well, actually, can we train dogs so that they can rape people? What the mindset, the mentality, the hate that someone like that must be having in their heart, to me, is really of another level. And also, do you go home and sleep after doing that? Because, again, from what we consider right and wrong morally in society, using an animal to rape a person, is never something that would be like morally right. I don't think there's a culture that will say, oh, in our culture that is fine. I don't think there's any culture which does that. There are people who do bestiality and sleep with animals, but they would have made a choice to do that themselves, not to have men with arms and guns and knives or whatever to say, do this, and then the dog comes after you. That I don't know how it. But what I'm saying is to just think about that. What would be in your heart? That is the same hate that I was talking about. That you must have really a dark heart to be able to think of that action, and then after thinking about it, then proceeding on to doing it, and then watching it, because what the eyes see, surely, it's kind of, would you want to see that? Would you actually want to watch a dog do that to another human being? How much hate must you have? Because, to me, it's either you would say, actually, let's shoot this person, let's kill this person. Moral? I don't think so. Maybe in war, if they've got a gun and you're all both armed and you're fighting a war, maybe that's what war does. But if you just take someone in prison who have been weak from weeks and days of starvation, then you bring them out, maybe tie their hands, make them kneel down, and then use a dog on them, and then watch. I think that's just a sign of, like, I don't know, maybe I can't even, I don't know, maybe yeah, mental health, big time, like maybe schizophrenia or something, even, I mean, deeper, because a normal person, whether they are soldier, because I do want to believe that the soldiers, the idea of soldiers and any other soldiers in the world involved or engaging in war, they have been trained on morally how to deal with civilians. And also, I think if you find your fellow soldier, even from the enemy camp, injured but surviving, I think you do not, I think the engagement of war, you do not shoot them, you do not finish them off. If they've survived, you take them and give them, support them. But is that what's happening in the Middle East? I do not think so. If people are killing civilians, if people are killing children, innocent children, the elder, the vulnerable, if people are destroying libraries, schools, churches, to the point of going after the sculpture that represents the figure of Jesus Christ, I don't think people like that would. I don't think they would. They would really be having a good, normal heart in them. They would just not be good people. They will not be good people. And it's such a pity that we have seen it increasing. There are wars that will, the people, you don't see that much, and I've seen it myself, because I was very unwell at one point, and when I was not watching news, I was not even going out, I was not even having conversations with people. I was set on finishing my PhD with the little energy I had, and then submit and finish off. So I wasn't, and then one day I wake up and I'm hearing the October 2023, and I was horrified by this story again of that. But then what happens afterwards? I do not know that you would say, well, you killed 20 people from us, so we are going to kill 2,000 of your people, and we continue to kill or murder. I just don't know whether that's what is done in wars. Because I do believe that in a war, obviously there are casualties, but you are in a war, right? But you then don't say, after the war is finished, then you go and say, I want to revenge all those people that you killed during our war. I feel like if that was the case, then things will just not be okay to be done that way. Anyway, what I wanted to say, I think maybe it might be considered improper here, but I just want to say, I feel like we still have to have that human side in us. Even if we are fighting a war, we still have to have that side, that's something in us that says, no, this is not right morally. Because if your way of dealing with prisoners or any captured soldiers goes beyond what's moral, then obviously that's a war crime, number one. Number two, what is it in terms of way? Would you say war has made you do that? Because at what point do you think an engineer to train a dog to rape a person? Please, God help me here. Because I don't think those things are thought of by, because it's not a way of punishing. It's not like, well, we are capturing them and we're making them work and work without food, or we are making them build our roads, or we are making them work in the fields, or no, that I would understand, because in Second World War it happened. That I would understand. But making animals rape human beings, that's a very sick, not even human mind. People like that should not be left around children, women, because if they are doing that to men and watch, imagine if they do that, if they see a woman or a child, where are they going to stop? And for soldiers who are supposed to be really trained, because to me, as I said before, if I'm lost and there are two people walking, there's one in civilian clothes and there's another in uniform, I'm likely to say, oh, let me just ask the policeman, or let me just ask, So if these men who are trained to be soldiers, and I grew up hearing, oh, Israel are good at everything, they are CIA equivalent, Mossad, they are so good. And then you see those documentaries where they are hunting Nazi sort of killers who ran away, or who managed to escape during the war. You see them, they follow them to Brazil. They did, like, you think, oh wow, so you admire how maybe well trained they are and how dedicated they are. The same with the soldiers. IDF, you think, okay, they should be the best. They should have the best discipline, among other things, among their training. But what I see are sort of people who have no restraint, no discipline, no sense of respect for human life, and no respect of other races, really. Because I just feel like, what if they see a black face, a black woman, disabled woman, what are they gonna do? It just kind of doesn't paint a good picture, unfortunately. So it's difficult then to see if anything good can be done by soldiers, because I know I'm not generalizing on their army. I'm just saying, just to have even those few who think like that is a bit scary. It's definitely scary, especially if you're a brown person. It's scary. So I just hope that it's a few people, and I just hope it's not true that they are training dogs, but it is, because there are people who are on the ground. So where is this hate coming from? Where has this hate come from that takes us to because the bad thing about hating something or somebody, it's that it does not set you free. That's the thing. You can hate, you can do 100%, I hate this person, but it does not make you, and it's heavy. Hate is heavy internally. It does not set you free. And if you do it for a prolonged time, you hate a group of people or a race for a long time, it can just only make you a vicious person, a person who is bitter. And because to me, some of the faces I've seen on these videos of people going in to attack people in the Gaza Strip or around there, those faces are not happy faces, and they are not faces that would like have a conversation, have a tea nicely, steady, stable. Because when you do that kind of evil, there's something wrong within you, so you are always going to look for who to go after. Yeah, if it's not physical, then you hide behind a keyboard and hate and insult and threaten and just really be bad through and through. So, and that's the punishment. And who wants to be like that? Long term, it's not sustainable. You end up being an old, bitter person that just looks back and see what, and maybe hear voices of those people and you see their faces, or even dream of those people that messed around with. Because honestly, some of it is like, why? Because if it's not a war, if you're not fighting in the battlefield, why then engage in these abominable things? Because if you said, oh, okay, it was a matter of life and death, so they shot, I shoot. Okay, that's combat. But if then these things are carried out in houses, in people's land and whatever, now that's beyond that. That's now that wickedness kicking in, and that can only draw a person down, and that can only make life bitter, miserable, and not at peace. I don't think you'll be at peace with yourself if you do go that far with the hate of a group, of a race, of the insults, the word used to describe non-Jewish or people who it's just like, why? It's all very well to say we are God's chosen. Okay, you are. Then live your life. Live the ones who are not chosen to, with their own life. Why must you enjoy kicking other people when they are down? What joy! Celebrating when another person is. I'm sorry. Even if people say they are God's chosen, it's still very difficult to perpetuate that sort of hate on other people, because it will not make you a free person. Deep down, there is something wrong, because you will not be at peace. You will not be at peace after kicking, after grabbing, after doing all these bad things. They will not make you a happy person. But again, there are various forms of wickedness, and some people don't bat an eye. I don't care. But spewing nonsense, hate, spitting at people, crushing people, stuff, and just be proud of that. Gosh, that would that would make me go for days with really, like, I would hate myself to be that kind of a person. Seeing all those old grannies with their shrinking like that, with nothing to eat, nothing to feed their grandchildren, with nothing to drink, and you think, yeah, this is good. I just don't get that. I don't get that. And the only reason I came online is to just share my my voice, and also support of anyone and everyone who is going through some form of torture, either not getting food, sleeping in tents, wet tents, no medication, no dry clothes, no winter clothes, no medication, no food, because I'm trying to stop watching news, not because I don't want to know, but I just know that maybe the things that I'm gonna see are going to be presented in a way that makes it as if things are happening, even in places where they say there's um ceasefire when there are thousands of people still dying. How can you even say ceasefire? What does ceasefire mean? Because you can't say ceasefire, but meanwhile children from school are being shot. What sort of ceasefire is that? Ceasefire, journalists are being bombed. What sort of ceasefire is that? You cannot have ceasefire and then kill someone or murder someone. It's, we thought they were Hezbollah. Yeah, we thought they were associated with a newspaper from Hezbollah. These were civilians. And this thing of associating people with with the so-called, because you cannot, what evidence? Because you see someone walking, even with surveillance, if they're wearing their press vest, and then you see an ambulance rushing to pick you, say, we thought the ambulance was carrying Hezbollah, and we thought the driver was Hezbollah, and we thought they were Hezbollah. So who isn't then? Because it does not make sense. Civilians are being killed, and then an ambulance is trying to take civilians to hospital. You think they are Hezbollah, right? So who is, who isn't? And how do you determine when a bomb is sent or a drone is sent without, just by seeing ambulance, then assuming that they could be my enemy? Churches, we thought they were hiding there. Mosques, we thought they were hiding there. Libraries, definitely. We thought they were hiding in libraries as well. But even in the Second World War, churches survived. Churches were not churches have been known in the world to save people, really, like people hiding, and that just and by priests. Some of them were saved by nuns and priests, and even in Africa, when I see these wars in Sudan or wherever, they always go take refuge in churches, and there are priests who receive these people and share food, whatever, And normally, even rebels, they do respect that. They would just stay away from places like that. And normally, it's women and children who go to these churches, and the elderly who go to these places to seek refuge. But if they are destroyed, because someone thought they were Hezbollah as places, so who then are you gonna leave out? So it means the whole aim is to kill everyone, because they could potentially be. Because if you kill people who are clearly with a press jacket and a helmet, and then you kill people who are seeking refuge in a church or in a school because you think it's Hezbollah, so it means the whole, in your mind, everyone is Hezbollah. In your mind, you want to kill everyone because you think they are your enemy. So it becomes a very difficult sort of response to a war, in my mind, in my opinion, because I just don't think killing people should be that simple and easy. And then to make it easy for your own explanation, you just use the terror group. I don't know, but it just does not seem right. It does not seem right. Because you gotta get your facts right. And I know there are people who have been murdered because they were mistaken for what they are not. But in combat, in a proper combat, it's very important, because some of the people who are hiding there or they'll be children. That school that was killed, of the students that were killed in Iran, when the first day or second day of the war, 168 students killed because they thought they were what? That's not right. That's why it should not be just done willy-nilly. That it's something, sending a bomb or a drone or whatever. It's something that should be done, not just, oh, I thought. Because it makes a difference between death and life. I thought, oh, I'm mistaken you for this. There are mistakes that have been made in the world by people who ended up killing people because they thought they mistook them for a thief. Remember the case of that athlete at the rivers. I'm saying, oh, I thought I was shooting a thief. Oh, I did 3 shows. I thought it was a thief. The black people have been mistaken for all sorts. But that's why people should really be careful and exercise due diligence to make sure that they are not mistaking civilians for the enemy. Because if it's happened once, you may say, okay, maybe once. But if always civilians are murdered, then that same excuse is used. Then it becomes meaningless. It becomes clear that that's what the intention was. I'm just saying this because I just find it difficult how the West have decided to be silent about what's going on, the human rights issue, the starvation, the suffering, the continuous taking of land, colonization really, the constant pushing out the Palestinians, and them not getting food. I don't even know whether they're still getting medication, because I remember seeing that medicine from there was where they were stopped, or was it? Yeah, they were stopped from. So again, what is the end game? And this the ceasefire that does not exist, or that exists only on paper. Even the people who sat and signed it, would they not be asking why there are still people dying even with that ceasefire in place? Because they sat there, they signed, the world clapped, the world recited they sighed the relief, like, oh, thank God. But it's like, thank God, but people are still dying, children are still dying, there's still hunger, so how have we moved? Because if you really care about peace, board of peace or whatever it's called, if you really care about peace, you would really follow it through, check who is breaching it, check why there are people still you wouldn't just say it's that phase 1 is done, we are moving to phase 2. Meanwhile, people are dying. So what have we achieved in phase 1? What? Bombs, the people are still being killed. There's still numbers increasing. I see them all every day. Al Jazeera updates, they have a line of numbers, figures of the number of people are dying. I could just even look at it now. So what did that phase 1 achieve? And are the people involved still following? That to say, why is this country still shelling the other people? No, they are not. They don't want to move on phase 2 to start thinking about building, because it benefits certain groups of people. It's kind of really sad that it is us, the people with no power, who are saying these things, because we can see clearly that it's not right. Death of people through bombings, through starvation, through all these other things we see, it should not be something to be celebrated. It should not be something that people should just like, wow, yeah. It shouldn't. But this is reality, and I'm not sure how we're ever going to come out of this, because their egos. There's also people who are interested in taking other people's resources, and also there are people who are interested in colonizing other parts of the world, still using all sorts of excuses. Because any country that colonizes, looking at the history of colonization of even Africa and other parts of the world, they always find something to say. They would either blame the country or the play people or the person attacked first or something. Then they go on to pillage and do whatever. This time is to build their Rivera, as they said, and just really make it and keep on pushing people out. It's just... Anyway, I think I should leave it at here, but I just wanted to really highlight how people can have the hate of other human beings to use animals to rape. How much can you dehumanize another human being? How far can a person go to try? Because what point are you making? It only does not show how evil you are, but even the idea of doing it, thinking about it, then doing it, and then watching it happening, and then taking pictures. Can you see how sickening that is? Can you just see how sickening the whole thing is? And then, we are God's chosen people, Yeah, God's chosen people. They will not do that. Even if you look at the Bible, the ones who were really following God, they were doing good things. If you look at the book of Judges, they were doing good things, those who were following. And the book of Judges, so and so died, and then so and so took over, but they did well by God. They respected all God's commandments. I do not see anything in the 10 Commandments that says go and take animals and train them to rape other people. What sort of right is that? I've never seen anything where it says that. So, and I think in the book of Leviticus, sort of that type of behavior is deplorable. So I don't know who these people are, because if they say they are this and they have the Torah, because the part of the Bible is the first, they were written by Moses, the part of the Old Testament for the Bible that has both New and your Old Testament. So I do not see where it says that in the in the Bible. I've never seen it. So who are these people? Except people who are actually evil and maybe have got nothing to do with God, because I do not think you would do that if you were someone who is linked with God. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that. You would focus on your God and let the sinners do their sinning and wait for God to judge, but not for you to judge. And what sort of judgment is that? That you take animals to rape people? What sort of judgment is that? And who are you to even do that? And these are the same people who, when they are talking about land, they use the same Bible. They said, we were given this land by God. He said he's giving the land to Abraham. But just picking those parts, but how about the parts you're doing of making animals rape people? Is that what you were told by God to do as well? It's just so beyond shocking. It's pure evil. And to me, the one thing that kind of annoys me is how how Christians just willingly embrace, and I don't know what they're embracing, because as I said before, it's one thing saying the government of so and so should not be doing this, and the individuals, because here these are soldiers who are doing these things to other human beings, soldiers, and we embrace that, do we? It's okay to call out evil. It's okay. It's whenever someone, I go to the book of Judges, there were so many of them that came in. Some were good, some were bad, some were good, some were bad, some were good. And the reason why they got punished was because they were not following. So it does not mean that certain races do not sin. And it does not mean they can't be criticized for those things that they are doing that are morally and even biblically wrong. Because some of these things are not just morally wrong, they're also biblically wrong. Because bestiality is something that the Bible is against. So practicing it on other people, it still means you're practicing it. Watching it happening on other people, you are still part of it. So no, I don't. Even people without a religion, even people who are not chosen by God, some of them, or I would bet all of them, would do have an extent of their evilness, but they will not go as far as training animal to rape people. How do you even think of that? How do you even come up with that? People say, oh, the waterboarding as a punishment or whatever was happening in Guantanamo Bay, or the CIA would get information out of you by doing this, they hold you underwater, Okay, those are like short term, you hold until you say, please let me talk, But training to rape people, animals, what is the end game? What are they supposed to be saying exactly? This is more than... I don't know that mind. That is a very sick mind. I don't even have words for that mind. Maybe even psychologists would be, they will have to come up with new words. Because that's damn bad. So, yeah. So here we go. Thank you very much for listening. And if you want to hear more, please subscribe. Okay, bye.